Hey guys, and welcome to the overview video for the release 1.1 of the Animal Behavior Kit. In this video, we'll be covering the new tag system. I've made some changes to all of the internal tags that ABK uses. As you can see here, all of the tags now begin with the prefix ABK in lowercase and then everything else. That makes it a lot more likely that you'll be able to integrate ABK with any other system in the marketplace that uses tags, right? You want to prevent tag collision. There's also a handy tag guide, and I'm going to put a link in the description of the video. I've added several new custom events, and I'm going to show you how to use those. But custom events that fire on all of the different commands for the companions, on the breathing system, and also a custom event that fires when the animal takes damage. And the reason why you want those events firing them is that you can then override them on your child class, and then you can put any custom code that you want there. That gives you a lot of flexibility, and it makes it really easy to add your own logic without touching the original blueprints from ABK, right? It's always nice to do that because it'll make it easier for you to upgrade to newer versions easier, and it makes it less likely that you'll screw something up that breaks something, right? And finally, I've added a despawn option to the animal spawner. And I've created a little showcase video before in the channel, but we're going to go over that as well today. And obviously, besides the features and the changes here, there were several bug fixes that you guys submitted. So thank you guys so much. It is a very complex system, as you guys have probably figured out by now. So I'm just one guy trying to test all the different combinations, but there's always a possibility that there will be bugs. So thank you guys that messaged me privately or on chat or whatever and let me know that there were some things that weren't working properly. So as far as I know, I did address every single bug that you guys reported in the 1.1 release. With that said, let's go ahead and jump to Unreal and let's just take a quick look at the tags first. We're gonna go down that list. This is the tutorial level that we've been using for all of the tutorial series that just ended a little while ago. You obviously will not have this level when you download ABK, but it doesn't really matter. This is just to showcase what we're talking about. So if you pick an animal, any animal like the doe here, and you look for actor tags, I'm just going to type tag here to filter out. You'll see that the engaged tags have now been changed to ABK in lowercase predator, ABK player, right? The default was just predator and player. These are literally tags. You can make them whatever you want. But I did go through all of the different blueprints and changed all of the instances of the tag system or using the tags to have this prefix, because now if you download something else in the marketplace that uses a tag player, for example, it will not basically use the same tag, right? You don't want shared tags because some other systems may delete the tag or modify the tag in some way, and that will then break ABK. So now it's very, very, very unlikely that you'll find any other system marketplace that has the exact tag like ABK player, right? Same thing if you scroll all the way down to the actor tags. Every animal will have the tag animal, and that's a very generic tag that's added to any animal that's using the parent class. So now that's ABK animal. ABK kill and ABK prey, again generic tags, and then deer, which is the species. This one does not have ABK, and that's because this is not a internal tag. This is an external tag that you specify under the animal details as the species. So it is up to you. You could make this ABK deer to keep it consistent, but I didn't want to force it, right? Because again, I just wanted to change the internal tags that are used, not the other ones, right? With that said, and you can see the additional tag here. With that said, there is nothing else that you need to do, right? There's no action specifically. Everything should work properly. If for some reason something screwed up, let me know, but I did do a lot of testing to make sure that everything's working correctly. So if you had, I saw a comment on the forums saying that you needed to add the tag player to another system. I think it was a VR system to make it work, and I did post it there, but I'm going to say it plainly now. If you're working with anything else and you already added tags to work with ABK, you may have to go back and revisit those tags and change them to the new format. Really painful, and sorry about that, guys, but that means that going forward, you will not have as many issues integrating ABK with new systems. All right, new custom events. So now, let me go back to Unreal here. If you open the ground animal base class here, and you go to the event graph, there is a new section in blue called overrideable events. And some of these events already existed, but they were here on top under the custom events. And I decided to basically separate them to make it really, really clear that these are events that are essentially empty, right? So if you click on any of these, like start and end engagement, these events, as you can see, are just custom events that are created and there's nothing here. Nothing's happening, right? And then you have a brief description here. Same thing for like breeding events or companion custom events. Open here and you can see that there are events called companion follow start, companion follow end, companion stay start, etc. The purpose here is that you're going to override these functions and add any custom code that you want. And then when the companion starts following you, in this case, this custom event will get fired, and then whatever custom code you have will be executed as well. So you don't ever have to come to this class and add anything. You don't have to mess around with the companion system, for example, to add your custom code. So to show you what I mean, we're going to look at the companion events, and I'm going to grab my buck here, and I'm going to add a companion component. Let's make sure that everything else is disabled. Population control, natural death, and we're going to click on add component, and we're going to type companion. And we're going to make sure that we're going to make it easier on ourselves, and then we're going to make this guy always tameable, and we don't care about adding a custom name, right? So right now, all I did is I added the companion system, and if I click play, and I get close to this guy, I can tame him, and you can see that this is behaving as expected, right? All right. So if I open the buck, and I'm gonna do it right here, and this is the buck. Remember, is a child of the ground animal class. If you open it and you go to the events graph, there's gonna be under functions here on the left. There's gonna be a little button that says override. You could add your new functions here on the plus function button, or you can click on this drop down that says override, and it'll basically give you a list of all of the different functions and events that are available to this animal, to this class, right? And there's going to be a lot of things here. So you want to be really careful and only override the functions or events that I have marked specifically here, right? You're going to find some things, for example, for play animation or things like that, event dead. You don't want to do that, because what's going to happen if you override the function is whatever's going to happen here doesn't happen anymore. It's going to be overwritten by whatever you write. So make sure that you first come here and look at the specific name, and then you override that function. So for example, if you want to override companion follow starts, and I kind of already have it here, but I'm going to go ahead and delete it just so I can show you, right? We want to override and want to do something when the companion starts following you. So we go to functions, override, and we look for companion. Remember, we looked at the name, companion follow starts. You selected, and I'm going to bring it all the way to the top here. Whoops. And then you'll see this little thing says event companion follow starts, and you can add any code you want. In this case, all we're going to do is add a little print screen so you can see that it works, right? But you can see that I've already pre-done this to save some time, and I've already taken all of the different functions for the companion. So we have companion follow start, follow end, stay start, stay end, go to the location start, go to location, and I'm just wiring them right here. Attack start, attack end, and finally we have two additional ones. Event companion become pet. This is when you first tame the animal, it'll fire, and event companion leave. So if all I did now is I have a print screen saying that the event has fired. So now if I click on play, and I approach and tame the animal, notice on the left hand corner it says became pet. So it means that the event fired, that the became pet event fired. And now as soon as I start moving, look on the left hand corner here, follow start, and as soon as I stop, follow end. So now you can use that custom event. If you want something to happen every time your pet starts following you, you can put it right there instead of that print string, right? Follow start, follow end, and I'm gonna press stay there, stay start. So you can see now it's staying. Then when I click on anything else and say, okay, follow me again, you'll see that it says stay end, and then follow start, and now follow end. And then finally, when I let him go free, it says left owner. So you can see on the left hand side. That's pretty much it, right? Very simple, but you can literally add anything you want. And let's just for fun, let's do the, we're not gonna do the breeding system here, but you can do event breeding start and breeding ends, and it's gonna be the exact same thing, right? But let's do something fun for event took damage. So what I have here is every time the animal takes damage, this custom event will fire. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the scale of the animal from a random range between 1 and 5. All right? Just to show you that you can add some functional code here. So here's the buck, and as soon as I damage him, that event will fire. And you can see now that the scale has changed to a random value, and you can see that the guy keeps changing to a random scale between 1 and 5. Wow, that's pretty massive there. There you go. All right. Cool. Okay, so that is how you use custom events. And again, remember, we have companions, we have breeding, and we have the taking damage. And finally, let's take a look at how to despawn animals on the animal spawner, right? So if you've been looking at other videos, you know that we have an animal spawner that we can basically use as a way to spawn animals at runtime. So if we go to blueprints, AI, and then we go to spawners, you'll see that we have now an animal spawner, BP animal spawner, and we have an animal spawner trigger. So we're going to grab an animal spawner and we're going to drop this guy right here in our level. Doesn't matter where, but I'm going to put it right here. And let's just quickly configure it. I'm not going to spend too much time here. Again, you should have, if you have questions, make sure that you look at the tutorial for the animal spawner. I'm going to select this guy as inactive. And I'm going to add a ground animal base, and I'm going to add an animal base class. I want to spawn does. So for the animal class, I'm going to type tutorial because all of my classes have the underscore tutorial, and I'm going to spawn a doe, BP doe tutorial. And we say how many of the does do we want to spawn? Let's say 5. Why not? And we're going to say, and the roam behavior is going to be go to random location in nav mesh and ignore us. We are not going to override any more behaviors, and we're going to spawn 1 doe every second. All right. And right now it's going to be inactive because I'm going to be using a trigger, and I'm going to grab BP animal spawn trigger, and I'm going to put it right here on this platform so I know exactly when I'm stepping on the trigger. So let's change the trigger scale to something like 10 by 10. There you go. And now I'm going to add my spawner to the list. Click here and say BP animal spawner. And right now, if I do this, it spawn once. If I do nothing else and I click play, notice on the left, as soon as I step on my trigger, the animals are going to start spawning 2, 3, 4, and 5. And obviously, I should have waited a little longer. And the error that you see on the left-hand corner is because I don't have a population system. We're not going to worry about that right now, though. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I select the trigger. This is going to be on the animal spawner trigger. There is a new option now at the bottom, which is a Boolean called kill animals. And if you select it, when you do an event end overlap, meaning you leave the trigger, it'll actually kill all the animals that the spawner has spawned, and there are 2 kill modes. There's one called Kill Animals, and what this does is it actually calls the death event of the animal, and the death event basically does a bunch of stuff, including either trigger the death animation or do a ragdoll death, for example, or you can do a destroy animals, which basically simply does a destroy actor node and grabs all of the references. So kill animals is, in my opinion, better. It's more natural, but if you want to get rid of all the animals in an instant, you would choose destroy animal, right? So let's try that again. I'm going to step on my little platform here. The animals will spawn one every second, and notice the animals are running around. And as soon as I leave my trigger, notice that the animals immediately go into their death death spiral, right? They're ragdolling their bodies, and then we had on the settings that they were going to wait 10 seconds and then despawn. If I go back to my trigger and I say, actually, I want you to destroy the animals. I don't even want you to try to kill them properly. Just go ahead and destroy them. I want them gone immediately. Then all you would have to do is select that option and look at the animals. As soon as I leave, look at that they immediately disappear. They've been completely destroyed. So that's, again, very simple. This option is only available on the animal spawner trigger, not exactly on the animal spawner. And the reason for that is because typically you may have more than one animal spawner and you can connect them all to a specific trigger. So if I went to the animal spawner here and I want to duplicate this guy and I put this guy here, all of the same settings, then I go to my trigger and I add him here on the list of spawner list. You can see that we have as many animal spawners as we want, and they're all going to be activated by this one trigger. So for your game, you can see that they're spawning on the front and on the left. So for your game, if you're doing this for real, you may want to have several different animal spawners in different areas of your level. So obviously it's not obvious, caves, behind mountains or whatever, and you may want to trigger that spawning when the player enters the area, and then when the player leaves the area, you may want to go ahead and kill those animals afterwards. All right, that is pretty much it for release 1.1. Again, just to recap, you can see here new tags, new custom events, a new despawn function for the animal spawner, and several bug fixes that you guys have recorded. That's pretty much it. Look for the link for the tag guide on the description of the video so you can see what it is. Actually, I can just show you real quick before we go. It's basically a list of what we call the reserved tags for ABK. You can see it here. So it's a Google Docs spreadsheet. And you have a description of what the tag is and an action, whether there needs to be an action taken or not, right? So if you're working on your own game, or you have a marketplace asset that you also use as tags, make sure that you do not use these tags that are listed here. These are specifically for the internal use of ABK, right? That's pretty much it. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.